Hey guys, Willie Creeman back with the AFC East. The Miami Dolphins, who finished at 11-6 last year and finished second in the division. They lost to the Chiefs in the wild card round, if you remember, in that brutally cold game. But listen, this team looked like the best offense we had ever seen last year, but they really struggled down the stretch. Consistency just was not there. Injuries piled up, and it made Tua's job more difficult, which is kind of surprising because Tua is someone that has gotten injured in years past, with the concussions and stuff like that. He stayed healthy the entire season, and if you look at this team, right, they've got great playmakers on offense when they're healthy, right? Achan and then Hill for a little bit and Waddle getting banged up like that just did not help them at all. One of the guys that they added was Jonnu Smith, and I really think that's going to be good for them because he's a big, strong, dynamic playmaker that is really going to add a nice element to this offense. But the defense struggled big time as you look at them, right? Like most notably, when I saw was when Chubb went down. When Bradley Chubb got injured, this defense it felt like just lost their juice, and that was kind of sad. We talked about it a lot last year on the podcast that we just couldn't trust this team. Every week you felt like, I don't know if they're going to get it done. They started to play good teams and lose those games, and you're like, yeah, but they were blowing out the Denver Broncos and all these teams, but they just couldn't beat the good teams when it came time. But they added a lot of guys in free agency, and they a lot of them were from Buffalo. My concern was what they lost instead, right? Like you look at Christian Wilkins, Baker at linebacker, like that. Those are just two really tough positions to replace. Yeah, they bring in Poyer, but he's kind of old. I know he's still capable. He's got fire in his belly to prove that, listen, I can still do this. But we're going to see. Shaq Barrett, listen, I really like this signing. He's a stud. He just needs to stay healthy, but he's an absolutely hungry, dynamic playmaker on defense. And I really think he's going to be very good on this defense for them. And listen, when Chubb and Jalen Phillips return, like it could be absolutely bonkers on this team how good they are on defense. We just need to get to that point. Also, there's a possibility. Howard, I know they parted ways, but maybe there's a chance that they could re-sign him on the cheap. He's still hanging out there. So the biggest free agent addition that they had, I think, is Kendall Fuller. Listen, I could have gone a few different ways with this because they had a few different guys that I liked that they brought in. But having good defensive backs in this league is a must now, especially in this division. You look at what the Jets are doing. I'm not entirely concerned about the wide receivers in the AFC East, but when you start playing teams that are better and playoff teams, you need to have good defensive backs, and that's what Miami absolutely needs on this. The worst free agent addition in my mind was the 6 defensive tackles that they signed trying to replace Wilkins. And listen, no one's going to replace that guy. He's very, very good. I'm not going to put him on Aaron Donald's level, but he's probably one of the top 5, if not more than that, like top 3 defensive tackles in the league right now. And it's just they're going to find out what it's like to miss a guy like that in terms of pressure up front, pressuring the quarterback, stopping the run, all of those things. Now in the draft, listen, I think Miami could have made better picks. Chop just was not as productive as you would expect him to be in college. When you look at this guy, he's an absolute freak. But when you look at the statistics, you're like, man, he should have done better in those games. And it doesn't match up with that. So I like the pick of Jalen Wright. Listen, I didn't think it was a need for them with having Mostert and Achane there. I just don't think you need a guy like him. But the defense is going to seriously have some questions to answer this year. This division got weaker with the Buffalo exodus, but you have to imagine it's getting tougher having Aaron Rodgers back in uniform for the Jets. It remains to be seen how good this Miami team is going to be.